Welcome to Scream Queens Horror Movie Road Trip Podcast! That's your final girl over there, Miss Justine.
Hey, 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 and that's your soul survivor, Mr. Josh.
Hey guys, we are so excited to be here. We do have an announcement.
Where are we, though? We're in our car.
We are in our car, and we're in Georgia right now, heading to Wilmington, North Carolina, because we had a big change of plans. COVID got to us, not personally. We do not have COVID, but it fucked with our trip. We cannot go to Massachusetts. We can't go to Salem. They have a very strict travel guidelines right now.
Yes.
We would have had to quarantine for 2 weeks beforehand, or quarantine for 2 weeks when we got there. There was all this paperwork we were going to have to fill out. There was a COVID test we'd have to take no more than 72 hours before we got there. There was just a lot going on that would not allow us to go to Massachusetts, even though we're very COVID careful.
Yes. And we just also had our own time constraints, too, built in. So, we also want to do service to our trip to Massachusetts. Like, we want to see in full Halloween regalia.
Yeah, I think it works out for the best. We want to go, like Justine said, to Salem, and we can actually celebrate Halloween. So I think it was for the best. So we are going to North Carolina, and we're going to have a few shows from there. Our first one is Blue Velvet, episode 57, what you're listening to right now.
Right now, in your ears, we're heading to Wilmington, North Carolina, and like Josh said, we just left Atlanta, so we are in Georgia still. You might even get to hear, as sometimes in the podcast, you'll hear us do our, it's like a little ritual, a little driving state ritual whenever we cross the state line, and sometimes you guys are privy to it, so.
We can be a little superstitious and a little fucking weird. So when we cross through states, we have a little ritual we do. We have to say hello and goodbye to the state. Goodbye to the state we're leaving. Hello to the state we're coming into.
Yes.
So you might hear that. Sometimes we try to avoid it because it's embarrassing. But we wanted to record. We were up. We're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed this morning. So we're like, let's just go ahead and record.
My tail is bushy.
She is bushy-tailed, guys. Her tail is so fucking bushy.
Okay.
Just kidding.
So, all right. So for the first part of our trip, we're heading to Wilmington, so we're covering Blue Velvet.
David Lynch, our first Lynch movie.
So excited to be covering this movie, both of us. We've been together watching Blue Velvet since high school. I know, Josh, you watched it even before because you brought it into my life.
Yeah, I saw this my
Bright-eyed,
sophomore...
bushy-tailed 16-year-old Justine.
I saw this when I was like a sophomore in high school, and it blew my teenage brain, blew my mind. I hadn't seen anything like it before. I had seen the still image of Isabella Rossellini in the blue velvet robe, straddling Mclaughlin holding the knife, and they both look startled by something. And that image always kind of fascinated me. I was just like, what is this? What's going on in this movie? Why does she have a knife?
Why is she straddling?
Why is she riding him cowgirl, but like with a knife? What's happening? What are they looking at? Why are they scared? Like in the shot. So
you thought like, why is she riding him cowgirl?
Yeah, with a knife. And why is she not reverse cowgirl?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
She wanted to look into his eyes.
Oh, that's so romantic. Fucking romantic. Okay.
But yeah, and you guys might argue Blue Velvet's not a horror movie, but it straddles that line of like the surreal.
Straddling.
Speaking of straddling,
every time you
cat
say
riding cowgirl straddled. It rides that line. Yeah, rides.
Yeah, riding that line.
Of almost going into like surrealist horror. You know, it's set in like the real world, but everything's a little off. But it's the real world, but what's really going on in the real world? What's going on in these idyllic neighborhoods and whatnot? And
yeah. You pull away that layer, that crust.
Lynch likes to play with that. He always does it in a really insane and creepy way.
Yeah. You've got this idyllic neighborhood with white picket fences.
But there's like some shady shit going down, some scary shit going down.
Mm-hmm.
And Lynch is going to show it to you.
He gonna show it to you. This Blue Velvet's 1986. So we've already had like Elephant Man, Eraserhead, Dune. Oh gosh.
Which is campy fun.
Yeah, dude, I remember the first David Lynch was Blue Velvet for me. You showing it to me as a 16-year-old, and then opening me up to just him.
I opened you up.
You opened me up like a wildflower. And then it was just like, I've got to see everything that he has done.
Yeah, I think Blue Velvet was the first one for me too. And I remember you and I watching Mulholland Drive in high school and being like,
oh my
loving it,
God.
not really even knowing what we were watching, but being like, the vibe of this movie is so fucking awesome.
And still, there are Lynches that I haven't seen, even though I've seen so many. I enjoy that there are ones that I'm like,
a lot of short films.
Yeah,
and stuff
like
that he's made.
Want to leave those out there, so I always have a Lynch to see.
Yes, but we're thrilled to bring this episode to you today. Like we said, it's one of our all-time favorite movies, so
we got miles to cover.
We feel like we've really got to do it justice.
Yeah.
So we're a little nervous, but excited at the same time.
I'm fangirling right now.
Yeah, we went from doing an episode of a movie we hate last episode, which is rare for us. We're not really haters. We always try to find something we like about a movie and we tried with that. But this week we don't have to try. We genuinely adore Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
And it's scary as fuck. And it has one of the scariest and most evil villains in movie history.
Yep.
And he's human. And that even makes it scarier. He's not a Jason or a Freddy. He's fucking Frank Booth, and he's gonna rip your soul
Frank
out.
Booth, Dennis Hopper, like, he had just gotten out of like rehab too, so I think he came to this film with like, I got something to prove.
Yeah, and he kind of convinced Lynch, like, hey, I am Frank Booth, is what he told him. I've lived this. I've been the terrible bad guy. I don't think he explained himself that way, but I'm sure that's what he meant. But Lynch loved that when Dennis Hopper told him that. He's like, okay.
I got this.
And he told Isabella Rossellini, we probably won't enjoy eating lunch with him, but he's going to be awesome in this part.
I like how he brings just a really solid, well put together cast to this movie.
Yeah. And
Kyle McLaughlin.
Speaking of Dennis Hopper still real quick, it's funny that he got nominated for Hoosiers that same year instead of Blue Velvet. He got nominated for both, I believe, at the Golden Globes or for Blue Velvet at the Golden Globes, but not for the Oscar. People like the more sports friendly, happy-go-lucky movie.
It just seems more mainstream. Like, okay,
but
so
great cast.
Great cast. Kyle McLaughlin, and that's where we're going to start, where we're going to open our movie. We get our opening scene of the song.
Yeah, well, first you get that like beautiful, haunting Badalamenti score, and you get the titles over that like blue velvet curtain that's kind of shimmering, and it's just gorgeous. And then it opens to the Blue Velvet song, and you get the picket fences with the roses, and the fireman waving, and the little kids crossing the street.
I like that the fire truck, like, it is like the fireman, and he's got his Dalmatian. It's all very
it's
like,
dreamy,
this is
Americana.
This is the American dream right here. You living in your nuclear family with your home and your car and your white picket fence,
you're
watering
safe.
your lawn.
Yeah, your beautiful little manicured lawn.
Mm-hmm. Having yourself just like a stroke.
Yeah.
While everybody is just being idyllic and like looking at, like the sun is bright, and then you're having your...
She wore blue.
Yes, Bobby Fenton's Blue Velvet, and he did
he redid it. They couldn't get the rights to like the initial version, so he got Bobby Darin.
No, Bobby Fenton.
Bobby Fenton.
Yeah.
Bobby Darin, someone else.
Yep.
And had him re-recorded
Yes.
for cheaper.
Yes.
But yeah, he said, Lynch said his voice wasn't quite the same. But
And you can, like, what's funny is it's not until you read that little tidbit or maybe you watch a commentary about it that when you listen to it, you're like, yeah, it isn't actually what the song that you hear on the radio.
yeah.
But that doesn't even matter. It's
It
funny
almost
and
adds to that.
it's appropriate for what's going on.
Yeah, it adds to
screen.
that quality of like everything being a little off.
Yes. That everything is just like, I don't know, perfect adjacent. Because we got this guy who's having a stroke and he is watering his lawn. And
The dogs freaking out, biting the water from the hose.
Yeah, the hose that he's just like, he's jerking around and the water hose is spraying the dog. The dog's like attacking it. And then it kind of, we get this like bugs in the water. And
Yeah, the camera just starts going underground. Like it goes into the ground, keeps just digging
showing the seedy
under.
underbelly.
We see all these
dirty.
bugs fighting one another in like a frenzy. And then it cuts to Kyle McLaughlin.
This like, welcome to Lumberton sign.
Lumberton,
And we have Kyle McLaughlin. He's walking in the, kind of like along the street. He's walking behind a lot, an empty lot area.
Well, first you kind of see him, he goes and visits his dad.
Yeah, he walks behind that lot, and this when he comes back that he sees the ear.
Yeah.
Like we see him traveling across this like, but yeah, he's walking to the hospital because it's his dad that had the stroke.
Mm-hmm.
And hi, Kyle, Daddy McLaughlin. Like
He's a college boy in this movie. He came
Hi.
home to check on his papa
Hi
in
there,
the hospital.
blue-eyed baby boy, man.
And we get to see his
There.
butt later, guys.
Yeah, hi, Daddy. I just want to give like him a little shout out, Daddy.
Hey, Kyle McLaughlin, Daddy McLaughlin.
We're gonna call you Daddy Jeffrey, and his name is Jeffrey in the movie. But he's Daddy. We know
Jeffrey.
Yeah, he's returned home from college because his daddy had a stroke. Daddy had a stroke.
And Daddy doesn't look like he's doing that great. Not Daddy. Kyle McLaughlin Daddy looks like he's doing great. But
He's hot.
Daddy's daddy
Yeah.
isn't doing so great. He's got like this net wires all around his head. Things looks like it's keeping his. I don't know what's going on there. It's like keeping his head on or something.
Yeah, I know, right. He's had a stroke, and whatever they are needing to do to keep him upright, he is sitting upright, and he's being kind of like held by strings and contraptions.
And like this cage around his
Yeah,
head.
it's sad. It's
Really
sad. And you see Jeffrey, he's sad that his dad looks this way. And then he's walking back across that open field.
Very forlorn. He's very, he's contemplative. He's sad. His head's down. So he's seeing the ground.
And he sees flowers. And he sees some grass.
And he sees my ass.
And then, but the camera pans over. And I'm twerking like hard-working girl up there like, hey, daddy, daddy. And then the camera pans over a little bit more. And we see
Kyle McLaughlin.
an ear.
And yeah, Kyle McLaughlin finds a severed ear.
Just a dirty ear. And there's bugs crawling on it. And you can tell that it's been sitting there maybe rotten for a minute. It's nasty. It's an ear.
And Kyle McLaughlin's like, this is queer. Maybe I should grab this tossed away paper bag and put the ear in it, and I'm going to take it to the police.
Yeah. Your hand gestures just now were hilarious.
You guys couldn't see them, but I was delicately picking up the ear.
For every word, you had a placement where your fingers were. You started with that inquisitive and your two fingers went up to your chin, and it was just a story with your little hands that I got.
Sometimes at parties, I tell stories with my hands.
With my hands. And you were certainly doing that just now. And we get to meet his aunts, or his mom and his aunts, because he goes home after he gets an ear that.
What's hilarious is this movie's like one of my all-time favorites. I've watched it a million times, but they never make it that clear who those ladies are. Except for he does call one aunt, but like I never really knew that was his mom.
Yeah, I guess
I always thought they were like just some aunts or relatives that came. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't really ever get a clear idea of. He's never like, all right, Mom, we'll see you later.
Yeah, I
It's
guess
all
I just
like-
kind of assumed because, like, you know, at the end of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
when his dad, I don't know, and one of them's a little older, that I was like, oh, I guess maybe that could have been his grandma. I don't know why I assumed it was his aunt.
There's like some family members, women
Sorry,
family
yeah,
members.
there's two females. One is his mom because his dad had the stroke and it's obvious that's where he lives. So one of those ladies is his mom. And the other, who looks a little older, I don't know why I thought in my head.
I think he does call them aunts something
Okay,
at one time.
all right. Hi guys,
We should know
welcome to
this.
Scream Queens Road Trip Podcast.
I guess we could have IMDb'd this if there was any questions.
Well, what's funny is I did IMDb this, and it does say something about his mother and his Aunt Barbara, because that's what I wrote down as
then maybe
descriptors.
that's really what it is.
Okay.
But they just don't really ever make it that
Clear. Well, yeah, and I'm
Except
sitting
for
here
I
like,
do think he says Aunt Barb or Aunt
Okay.
Barbara or something.
yeah, and the
like
other one
that.
is like, yeah, it's his mom. Okay, guys, there's two ladies, because he walked in his house and he was like, oh, hey, ladies. I'm not going to tell you about this ear that I found. Just FYI. I'm gonna wait, because it's not for you. It's for a detective. And then he goes to see the detective in town. And he's like, hey, guess what?
Hi, detective. I got something for you.
I can't wait to show you.
It's in this bag. Want me to pull it out?
And he puts it right over his dick. And then he says,
He's like,
look in this bag.
Put your hand in it and pull it out. So he hands him the bag. He's like, I found an ear. And it's kind of funny because the detective looks in. He's like, yes, that's an ear, all right.
That's an ear, all right. I like a double take, but like, yeah.
That's an ear.
That's an ear. In case you were needing confirmation that it was an ear, this is an ear.
Son, you know an ear when you see one.
You not only did you think you saw an ear, this is an ear.
And you came
All
to the
right.
right place.
Because when you find severed ears, you should bring them right here.
To the hospital. I mean, not the hospital, the police.
The police.
Only the hospital if the man with the severed ear is needing his ear back. Take
we
it
should
there.
go to the hospital and see if there's a man missing his ear. there. Oh wait, this looks like a little dirty ear. Maybe he's not going to be able to use this ear anymore because it's nasty.
And guys, just a tip, because we like to give you guys all the info. If you ever sever something, don't put it directly on ice. Put it in a baggie and then put it on ice, okay? You don't want to frostbite your finger that got cut off, your ear, your penis, your toe, your clitoris, whatever happens, don't put it directly on ice. Okay?
Yeah.
Put it in the baggie and
God,
then go.
I was
then-
just sitting here reading my notes, and then you said clitoris.
Well, things get cut off. Things happen.
Yeah, so just don't put it directly on ice.
Put it in the
Save
baggie.
that shit.
Yep.
Yeah, save it. Okay. Well, so he took that ear, and then he's kind of like mulling things over, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna disturb that detective while he's at home. I'm gonna walk over to his house because
I've been thinking about
thinking about things, and I'm like 19 years old.
And
I got
something's got to do with something.
right? Like I walked by that lot twice, saw the ear. Something's got to do with something. I'm now a detective.
He's like, and you know what? I'm plucky.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take initiative and figure this shit out myself.
Plucky people. We take care of business.
We get
We pluck
shit
things
done.
up. we pluck
We
things
pluck
up.
it up.
Oh God, there was this just like loud ass truck that went by. Like, hi Gina, bye.
Gina, get off our podcast.
She's trying to make herself famous. I
God,
guess
all these trucks and cars that come by trying to be like
us.
make a cameo. I'm
So fucking rude.
like, don't you know we're working right now?
We were talking about pluckiness, and
Yes.
then you came and plucked your time up.
Yeah, so we're getting the sense that Kyle Mclaughlin or Jeffrey is, that he is someone who takes initiative, and he's like, I want to know about this. I'm
gonna figure
bored.
things out.
I'm back home from college. I've got nothing better to do in Lumberton.
Here I go.
See what's going on with this ear.
I'm going to head over to the detective's house, and I'm going to try to get some more information out of him. But the detective, Williams is his name, Detective Williams, he's like, I can't talk about an ongoing investigation. I gotta go tuck myself. I gotta go tuck me under. I gotta get to bed. He walked up to the door in his ball gag, which is kind of like
really. You're like Lynch. Wow, you're really taking this to the next level.
Yeah, like what? Jeffrey, I had no idea you were coming by. I am in my leather and ball gag, and his wife was just on a leash. Like, it's fucking crazy, but
beautiful if that's
beautiful,
what you're into.
Yeah, but like obviously the kind of crazy that I want to be a part of. Okay, so now we've got a plucky Jeffrey who's like been turned down by Detective Williams, and so he's leaving all like, "Aw, but I was gonna solve a crime tonight." And he walks a little bit down the sidewalk, and out of the darkness comes an angel of sorts.
And by angel, we mean a real life fucking angel named Laura Dern.
Yeah.
She walks out of the shadows. We get this stirring music, and by Badalamenti. I just like saying the last name.
Well, and it's
I don't know, Badalamenti.
It's David Lynch. Like, he had written some lyrics that he kind of wanted incorporated into the film. And
I think that's later when they're dancing, though, right? That song, that like poetry of love.
Yeah, I guess I thought it was kind of like a melody that kept
it
playing
might be,
throughout
but it's
it was
like
like their like whenever
yeah.
they were together, their melody.
But there's this sweeping music that plays when she emerges from the shadow, and he plays with a lot of like melodrama and like cues you might see in like a melodrama, like strong music cues to cue you in, like, oh, this is our girl. He's gonna fall in love with her.
Yes. Oh, yes. No, you're right. It is later at the dance because it's this song that he played over the loudspeakers. Like, while they were filming, like, he had that playing. Mm-hmm. So, like, she was getting to hear what the music would be in the movie, too. Oh, my God. He's so fucking amazing.
So they get to talking. She's like, hey, are you the one that brought the ear? And he's like, oh, you know about that? And she's like, yeah, I do. I've been listening on my dad. I'm inquisitive. I'm plucky, too. You're plucky. I'm plucky. Let's plug together, bitch.
My bedroom's above his office, so I'm always getting the latest 411, ho. And he's like, why are you calling me names?
He's like, you're talking in a slang that I don't think has been invented yet in 1986.
Laura Dern's like, right, because I invented.
Because I'm ahead of my time.
Yeah. Her character's name is Sandy, so she's like, yep, I'm the cop's daughter. You're going to want to get to know me. She tells him immediately, she's like, yeah, I already got some information. I already have some 411 if you want it.
She's like, well, and he's like, yeah.
He's like, yeah, I just showed up at your door and your parents were in the middle of something, so maybe you don't want to go home right now. But I need that info handed over. She's like, yeah, there's this lady that my dad's been talking about.
This lady singer. I think that's how she describes them.
This lady
singer.
This lady singer. And, you know, her name is Dorothy Valens. And he's like, Dorothy Valens? Okay, where can I find her? And
she's like, come with me.
She knows, like, where she lives.
She's on an apartment over here off Lincoln. And what's funny, just before Jeffrey left the house, his mom or aunt or whatever was like, stay away from Lincoln Street. Like, that's already been dropped into the story of, like, you don't want to be near Lincoln.
Yeah, that's, like, the other side of the tracks, kind of.
Yeah, so she's like, area. I know where it is. Come this way. And then we get this shot, and you see it's on Lincoln Street.
Yes, and here we
and
are.
There's another music cue. There's, like, that music sting, like, ba-ba-bang.
You don't want to be on Lincoln Street.
There's guys driving by, like, hey, baby. Cat calling Laura Dern.
And obviously she's with someone, guys.
So back off.
Back off, and it's hot daddy Kyle McLaughlin.
You're so rude.
You're really fucking rude. Back up. They were just like trying to get their cameo.
Yep.
That's all. We understand that feeling all too well.
All too well.
We get, okay, so now we're there at Dorothy Valens' apartment complex, and Jeffrey is already coming up with the next idea of, like, how is he going to get into there?
Yeah, they go to like a little coffee shop, right? Kyle McLaughlin comes and picks her up from school, and
Yes.
all her friends are so impressed because he's like Kyle McLaughlin and in a...
He's in college. He's in a convertible.
He's in a convertible, and they're like, "Oh my God, look at that!
He is so cute.
Oh, he is
Oh my
so
gosh!"
cute."
And they all start like pulling their skirts up.
And one like bends over completely, and she's like, "Fuck my fanny," and you're like, "Girl, calm down."
Fuck my fanny.
It's really weird.
It's a little out of place.
And then
I'd say.
Lord Dern's like, "I'm gonna go get in the car with him, girl."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh," and then you see some guy sees it happen. He tries to call her. He's like, "Hey, Sandy," and then they take off. You're like, "Oh, that was her boyfriend."
Oh my gosh, she's like already like, "Oh no, thanks. Bye, guys."
But they go to a little diner. We're gonna go to that diner in Wilmington, and they hatch a plan.
They've decided that they're gonna like dress him up as an exterminator, and she's gonna be the lookout, and he's gonna show up and be like, "Yeah, I gotta spray your room for bugs," and Dorothy will let him in, and that works. And she's supposed to like honk the horn whenever, if ever, somebody shows up. She could see. Well, and the reason why is because the stairs are outside, and Josh, we were talking about this earlier about how we hope the apartment complex still has the stairs that we can see, because that's kind of an integral part of the movie. How they set it up is that she can see so Sandy can see Dorothy's apartment complex, like she can see where people enter on the floors, and if somebody comes up to that floor, then she's supposed to like honk, like, "Hey, get out of there."
She's supposed to be watching for Dorothy Valens, and she's supposed to honk the horn 3 times. It's this really funny part. She's like, "I'm gonna honk it 3 times," or is it 5 times? I can't remember. But she's like, "I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3." Like, you're like, "Yeah, that's what 3 times means."
The third, Oh man, and I was on pins and needles because I was like, "Is she gonna do a 4th one just to be silly?" But she didn't. So.
Yeah. So they go and see her, right? They go and watch her perform for a few minutes at the nightclub.
Yeah, at the Slow Club, where she's the lady singer.
And she gets up there and she starts singing. That's when we first hear it's not when we first hear it, but we hear her sing Blue Velvet. And we start to understand, where that's coming from.
Blue Velvet.
She's very sultry, and you can tell, not the best singer. You can tell it's like small town club. But in this club, maybe she's got something going for her.
She's got some sex appeal, obviously. She's Isabella Rossellini.
Yes, queen.
She is goddess. And she's mysterious because she does have, like, she's European, so she has a little bit of, like, mystery coming to her look as well. Because I'm always like, where'd she come from? And in Lumberton, USA, why is she here, and how come her husband has been
this like Italian exotic beauty? Why is she in Lumberton with her beautiful dark hair and her bright blue eyeshadow and her red lip?
And she's always wearing like blue velvet and black lace. It's a sight to see. Okay.
Oh, but first he gets the key. That's the first thing they do.
Yeah, he goes into their apartment.
So this is before they go into the club.
Right. Like, we kind of jumped ahead, but we were talking about that scene where she honks the horn.
Well, that happens later that night. We're way ahead of ourselves.
Right.
They hatch the plan. The plan is he's going to dress up like he is a bug spray guy.
An exterminator.
Exterminator. He's going to go spray the apartment and try to unlock a window. But when he gets up there, there's not really a window to unlock, and there's a knock at the door, and a guy in a yellow jacket comes in and talks to her for a few seconds, but he's able to steal a key real quick.
Yeah, he sees her spare key sitting there, and so while she is distracted...
Oh, bye, Georgia. We love staying in you. We had a great night. Hey, South Carolina. We're so excited to drive through you, girl. Take good care of us. Protect us. We love you.
Cute.
All right, so that's us.
So... Yes, while he's spraying his bug spray in the apartment and she is distracted, he finds the spare keys and then just heads out. I was like, okay, bye. And then that evening they go to the Slow Club and they hear her and see her and are both very taken with her.
And she's like 17, able to drink in a nightclub. That I don't understand. But I know at one point in some places the drinking age was 18 until some point in the 80s, so I give it that. I'm like, maybe this is one of those places. I don't know. But she's in high school drinking at a nightclub.
And drinking Heineken, because they talk about that. Like, you've never had a Heineken
It's like,
before?
I love Heineken.
I love Heineken. They're making some small talk at the table before.
But as soon as pretty much she gets up and starts performing, they're like, okay, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
They see...
It's our time.
Yeah. They see a man kind of like singing and crying, watching, and they get out of there. They're like, all right, now's our time. We know she's busy. Ooh, listen to me. Revving up.
We're revving up because we're having to change lanes. So they go back to the apartment and he's looking around, looking for a clue.
She's down there waiting to honk 5 times or 3 times. I can't remember.
And she does have to start honking because there's an arrival. But
Isabella Rossellini
it's
comes
not
back
enough.
home.
Yeah, it's not enough time, and so he hides in the closet.
Yeah, he's peeing and flushes the toilet right when she honks, so he doesn't hear it.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh crap, I'm gonna have to hide."
Yeah, it's a really good moment of suspense, isn't it? You're just like, oh my God, he missed it.
No,
They're coming, Kyle, Jeffrey.
And so he takes to a closet that's in the living room area of the apartment, and this becomes his like hiding place throughout the movie. And she walks in. She is done for the evening. Isabella Rossellini. Dorothy Valens is starting to undress, and he's like, "Oh shit, I'm watching her undress." He can't take his eyes off her. But
what does a gentleman do?
She's all looking at herself in the mirror, like,
takes her wig off.
My life sucks. It sucks. And then he knocks something
over.
Makes a noise in the
And she's like,
closet. She realizes somebody's in there. She grabs a knife, opens up the closet. She sees the exterminators in there. What the hell?
She's like, what are you doing? You watching me undress?
What did you see?
You like climbing into women's closets and watching them? Yeah, and then she's like, starts giving them head, right?
Yeah, she gets, I guess, just kind of like turned on by the situation.
She cuts him too, real quick, with the knife.
because he's like,
she's like, show me your ID,
shocked,
show me your wallet.
Yeah, that he's just a little like shocked, so he doesn't immediately react. And she's like, come on, and gets him, and then
She's like, Jeffrey Beaumont, what do you want, Jeffrey Beaumont?
They start having a little bit of a sexual relationship right there.
And this is that shot I was telling you guys when she's riding him, and then someone knocks at the door, and she's holding the knife, and they both look surprised. It's a great shot. It's really, it gets you thinking.
It's suspenseful. You're like, who's at the door? What's going on?
So she's like, get your shit and get back in the closet.
So he gets back in the closet, and we get our
Here's Frank Booth.
bad guy scene like never before. We
There's
meet
the guy that
Frank
was crying.
Booth. Yeah. We meet Dennis Hopper's Frank Booth, and he is fucking frightening.
He comes in already like screaming and angry. Like,
Yeah,
what the fuck are you doing? You know, already
He's
just
raged up. Rory's clenched fists, his face muscles are all tightened.
And then we get a really like terrible, basically like rape scene. He makes her sit down. He's sucking on this, I don't even know what it's supposed to be. It's some kind of like laughing gas that's just getting him high and fucked up and amped up. And, you know, he's twisting her nipples and fucking with her vagina. And
God,
he's just it's awful to watch. And he's hitting her. And Jeffrey's just watching from the closet like, what the fuck is going on? And he's stuffing blue velvet into his mouth, right? Or her mouth. And he's like, gets her down the ground.
Yeah,
and he's
in
just
her
like,
mouth. And he's like, baby wants to fuck.
Baby wants to fuck. Yeah, it's like one of the most nightmare scenes.
Oh my God.
And then he starts like dry humping her like crazy, and he's like, like it's
sadomasochistic. It's
fucking
you get
it
downright
like
it's rape. It's It's so scary. It's violent. It's abusive.
And you get something's going on because he's like, "Keep yourself alive, baby," or they die. He's like, keeps just telling her, "Keep yourself alive." And you're like, "What's happening?"
Yeah, like she's in some shit.
Yeah.
And then he leaves. And
You're like,
the mask is so fucking scary. Like when he puts it on, and how he'll talk in it, like it's muffled, and then he'll come out and he's all heavy breathing, like
eyes wired, bulging.
He's playing this maniac who's high all the time and just
insane,
psycho. It's very unsettling. And then he leaves. It's this crazy disruption this is another sad moment that's going to happen is after he leaves and Jeffrey comes out.
He's like, "Are you okay?" And she's almost had forgotten he was there.
Yeah. It was such an intense scene. You almost forgot he was there because your eyes are on her and she's laying still on the floor, just treated like a dog.
And she's startled by Jeffrey, and then it becomes like she wants to have sex with Jeffrey now.
It's this weird nurture. It's a little like...
And then she's trying to get Jeffrey to hit him, and Jeffrey's like, "No, I won't hit her." And
yeah. She's Stockholm syndroming, like, weirdly, like, "Oh, I want you to hit me, like it's the way she
It's almost like maybe
things.
she's into bondage and stuff, but like she found herself in a situation where it got taken way too far.
Yes.
And now she's trapped. That's what I've always thought. Like maybe it started off as like an affair with Frank. She's married, but then, or she was targeted because she worked at the nightclub and Frank, targeted her. And
and
was
because
like, "You're gonna
her husband,
kidnapped her husband."
like,
which we'll find out here soon.
Yes.
That her husband and son have been kidnapped by Frank, and he's holding them hostage. She has to do sexual favors and do this stuff for Frank, or she's going to get more
alive.
body parts. That's the husband's ear in the field.
Yes. And it's... But we also don't know, like, okay, but why? We don't know that yet. But it's some scary shit. And you can imagine if you're like this 19-year-old who wanted to play detective one night.
Way in over his head.
Way in over his head. He's dealing with some actual villain, like bad guys who he could lose his life. Like this is his high stakes.
So the next day he tells Sandy like a way scaled back version. He leaves out a lot of important details.
Yeah, he doesn't mention a lot of the sexual stuff that goes between him and Dorothy, but he does let her know about Frank and how gruesome.
And kind of what he's put together. Like I think he's got her husband and he's holding them hostage.
So she gets informed and is like encouraged to keep listening in on your dad, like on that side of things, and let me know what you find out.
She's a little weary, like more so than Jeffrey. Like she's way more cautious. She's kind of our voice of reason, kind of like, "We really shouldn't be doing this, right? This is crazy. Why are we doing this?"
And he's like, "I'm gonna go back," and she's like, "No, we should probably just let my
Leave
dad
this alone.
handle it."
Yeah.
Which,
wouldn't be a movie.
But of course, like, he's not going to listen to that, and he also has his own ideas of where the story is going, and he doesn't maybe necessarily trust everybody in the police force. So,
and so he goes back that night, right?
That evening he goes back, she performs her Blue Velvet again, and he watches we get to meet Brad Dourif in this scene.
Brad Dourif, Chucky himself.
He plays a character named Raymond, but it's one of the crew of Frank, and
he's just like one of the gangsters. But
a henchman.
I always love seeing Academy Award nominee Brad Dourif in anything, though.
He's amazing, and they drive around to Frank's apartment, and it's like in this industrial area of Lumberton we get like a backdrop of like chimneys, like you can tell there's like industrial work being done in that area of town. I guess we're just not in the nicest area of Lumberton. Not the white picket fences that we opened our movie with.
It's like the factory, the industrial area of town.
And the man in the yellow jacket. So we've got, like he's, what am I trying to say here?
So this is Jeffrey during the day
sitting in the car,
on him,
and he's
trying to... He's the well-dressed man. He sees a man like in a leather jacket and a mustache and a black hair. Is with the guy in yellow.
The yellow jacket.
And the yellow jacket man. And they go and they look over. You see them go scale this factory building and they're looking at something in the distance. And Jeffrey just gets a lot of good pictures of them. And he's wondering, like, well, who is this well-dressed man that's with the guy in yellow?
Yes. And there's a crime scene, a drug murder scene that, like,
in the distance. And he tells Sandy about all this, too.
And she's like, of course, like, what? Like, no, don't go back to her apartment, because he's like convinced, like, I gotta go back. Like, I've got to find out why he's
like, what's going on?
Like why he's abusing her and stuff. And just as he's like going on a joyride, or he shows up there, just as he shows up there to find out what's going on with Dorothy, so does Frank.
Well, first they go in.
Neighbor.
Well, first he goes in and him and Dorothy have sex, and this is when he hits her, right? She's like, hit me.
Hit me.
And
hit me.
They have like this weird, like animalistic, like the camera slows down. They're like, they're like animals doing
like
it all
two
of a sudden.
Tigers.
And she had told him first, like, I looked for you in my closet tonight, like thinking he would be there. So she was happy he showed back up. And then it's when he's leaving and she's all like hugging on him, showing him out the door, that Frank and his cronies are like right there. And she recoils for a second, like, oh shit, and tries to almost like hide. And then Frank's like, who the fuck is this?
And he's like, and she says, he's a neighbor.
He lives in the neighborhood.
He lives in the neighborhood.
Oh, so you're a neighbor.
Huh? And it's just like a really, like, oh God,
you're like,
no! Like,
and she's like, Frank, he's a good kid. And he's like, well, let's go for a drive, neighbor.
So they go.
And he's like, no, I don't want to. He's like, no, you're going on this drive.
Yeah, it wasn't like I didn't pose a question to you. Like, you're going on this drive right now.
And it's a drive from
Dorothy,
hell.
You're going on the drive too.
And so Dorothy is up shotgun with Frank and another guy, and poor Jeffrey's like stuck in the back, in the middle, just surrounded. He can't go anywhere. He can't do anything.
And they're like speeding, like going like 100 miles an hour, and we get this, shot of the speedometer in the car, like just exceeding some mileage for sure.
And he's fucking with Dorothy up front, like again, like pinching her nipples and hitting her and whatnot, and it pisses Jeffrey off. He's like, leave her alone. And Frank looks at him like, oh, what did you say to me? And then he does something to her. Like, I think he does something to her Virgin. And it elicits a response from Dorothy, like, in pain. And Jeffrey just cold cocks him one. Like, just sucker punches Frank in the face. And that wasn't a good idea.
No, it wasn't. But hold on, that actually doesn't happen yet.
Yeah, they have to stop
there's
first.
A joyride.
Yes.
So hold on, they take a
no,
joyride.
Right.
They go really fast because they're speeding over to another apartment, and we meet the friend Ben.
I don't know how I could have forgotten this part.
Like I was like waiting because I was like, is he gonna?
No, I caught it too. Right,
when
I was like, wait, I forgot to mention Ben.
No,
this happens after.
Yeah. So there's the joyride to Ben's, and then the joyride after.
But a lot happens at Ben's when you talk about Ben.
Meet Ben, because Ben, played by Dean Stockwell, he's like a fave in the movie. Everybody loves this character.
He's holding one of those long, what do you call those cigarettes with like the cigarette holder?
It's like from the 1920s,
yes, he has one of those. He has his face like powdered white.
He's very effeminate, like he's carrying himself with a
he's
certain...
like, hello, Frank, and he talks very, like he's very sophisticated.
Yes,
with
almost
like
annoyed with how brutish Frank is always coming off.
And like kind of just like, oh, Frank. Yeah, he's very, like his cadence is just very upper echelon.
Posh.
Yes. Just like, hello,
I
Frank.
love it.
Yes, come in, please, Frank.
But
How are you?
he's not a good guy.
Yeah, Ben is, you can tell, very evil himself.
Mm-hmm. He's not a good
And
guy.
the room is full of just these big women, these BBWs, and they're like hot pink dresses sitting around. And they're like, almost have like grandma hairdos, but they're wearing these like bright fluorescent outfits, and they're sitting around like talking and smoking and knitting, and there's like gangsters in the room.
It reminds me of like a John Waters scene.
And
like,
it's just very, again, surreal.
colorful and surreal, and yeah.
And Frank's like, let her go see her kid. And you're like, oh, this is where her husband and child are.
Yes. And we get filled in by Ben. They kind of have like a business meeting on the side where he's giving him the lowdown about stuff that's been happening in the neighborhood and what's happening with Dorothy's husband. And so Ben's in cahoots with our man Frankie Poo Poo, but there's just an amazing scene that happens.
Yeah, first,
Kyle Mclaughlin does get the shit beat out of him in the apartment complex.
Yeah,
Everybody
they
takes
hold
a
him.
swing at him.
Mm-hmm. But Ben, they're like, sing a song, Ben. Or he's like, do Candy Colored Clown, Ben. And so he takes a request from Frank. And the lights kind of dim, and he turns on, it's like one of those big industrial car lights, like, not a car light, but you see a lot of mechanics use when they're working in a garage. It has like a little hook on it that they can hook on things, but he uses it has the long cord. He uses it like a microphone. It illuminates his face, and he starts lip singing to the Candy Colored Clown they call the Sandman, and it's just like one of the best moments of movie
It's the most
history
like
ever.
amazing lip syncing I've ever seen.
It's just weird and really cool.
It's like it cuts it's like an icebreaker in the scene, because the scene is super tense and you are like, what the fuck is going to happen to Jeffrey? Why the hell are we here? You're just like, you can't almost comprehend what's all going on the screen. And then we just have this like music video moment where he just sings us like a lullaby almost, like calms us down. We're all heightened right now.
Frank is really into it. Like,
yes.
He's just staring at him, like loving every minute of it. I almost wonder if him and Ben like fuck.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, because he's like, right after this, he's like, I'll fuck anything that moves. Frank has this maniac moment.
Where he's like, come on. Well, you also hear Dorothy Valens like in the other room at one point, be like, Mommy loves you, Donnie, Mommy, trying to convince her son, like, I'm your mother, I love you, I know you're stuck here, but
probably having like a hard time of it. Obviously, he's not enjoying being held prisoner in an apartment complex.
And then she comes out very sad, and then Frank's like, all right, let's go on a ride, I'll fuck anything that moves. Yeah,
he's like sucking on his
and then there's that really cool cut where all of a sudden the edit, they're just gone out of the frame.
Disappear.
And you hear the tires squealing, and
like they burned rubber, they're getting out.
And then we get that, now they're in their car, and he's
teasing
messing
her
with her, and Kyle Mclaughlin punches him in the face.
So Kyle Mclaughlin Jeffrey gets one good clock in on that chin, and then we get Frank, who's like, oh, okay, all right. And they go down this long driveway past these like bricked buildings, and then into a very secluded, like dusty, gated area.
Yeah, like a lumber yard.
Yeah, and you're like, oh no. Oh no!
And he's like, get him out of the car, and then Frank puts this lipstick all over his face.
And all of the henchmen are also like in the car, and everybody's just like cackling and laughing.
Dorothy's screaming like, "No, leave him alone!"
You get one of the lady. There's a lady that's come along as well, and I love her. She's in like a bright outfit. She's blonde,
big girl,
and she's full on making out through the whole drive, like with one of the henchmen, and then when they all get out of the secluded like lumberyard area,
pops in that Candy Colored Clown tape again,
and she climbs on top of the car and just starts dancing, just swaying her hips left and right, moving her arms, just jigging around, because there's a show going on.
Yeah, Jeffrey's getting the shit kicked out of him. The music's blaring with Candy Colored Clown. You have this lady dance on top of the car while he is getting the shit kicked out of him.
It's a lot of good camera work, and we get Dorothy in the car pleading with Frank to stop beating Jeffrey. So she's just like, candy colored clowns going on. We got Dorothy like, no, Frank! And then we've got the guys all laughing, and there's like, the punching sound happening, and Jeffrey getting all bloodied up.
So good.
It's so effing fucking good!
And you cut to the shot of this candle being like blown out, and then it cuts to the next morning, and he's like laying there still, like in the gravel,
just
waking up, just all bruised and cut up, and he slowly gets home, and then he cries. He's thinking about how he was hitting Dorothy the night before, and he keeps repeating it over and over in his mind of the hit me, and then how she would smile after he hit her. Like, he's so confused about, like, what's going on.
He's just, like, overcome with guilt and sadness, and then he
knows he's way over his head, but...
So he knows he's got to, like, go to the authorities, and so he goes to see Detective Williams, but while he's there, he sees the man with the yellow coat, but he's a detective, and he starts to immediately have distrust for what's going on.
Yeah, and he tells Sandy's dad.
Yeah,
like, I saw him. He's one of the bad guys, and the guy's like, leave it alone.
Yes, leave it alone. I can't talk about this, therefore you don't know what's going on. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
But
and he's like, what does Sandy know? Are you getting Sandy involved in this? And he's like, no, Sandy's not involved. So when he's leaving, Sandy's like, hey, and he's like, oh, hey, Sandy.
Don't say shit right now. Your dad's over there.
I'll see you tomorrow for that dance.
Don't fucking say anything. And she's all like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah.
She's like, don't pick me up in front of the house.
Yeah.
So-and-so might see. Pick me up down the street, or...
her boyfriend.
Her boyfriend,
yeah. Because she's still, like... she still has her boyfriend, but...
She's trying to figure it out.
She does like Jeffrey, and they're using this dance as maybe a way to further do investigative work, so they want to go together.
And this is the song, like, while they're there at the dance, that David Lynch wrote the lyrics for, and Angelo Badalamenti wrote. Yeah, all his music really is. I love how David Lynch uses it in his movies, because it is so, like, dreamy and almost like with a positive vibe, but he uses it in, like, such a way.
Yeah, it's a little creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy in the scene almost. And
it's just like adding to that layer. Yeah.
And I keep using the word surreal a lot, because that's what this movie is. It's like a woken dream.
Yeah. You are walking, here you are, you're on the planet, but it's a little cloudy, and you're not completely walking sure-footed.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like a lot in Lynch films anyways. Okay, so now let's go to the dance. And let's go to where Jeffrey and Sandy have their I love you moment.
Yeah, they have their moment. They're dancing, the music's playing. They're like, I love you. Oh my God, we're like in love.
We're like in love. And they kiss.
They leave the dance holding hands.
Leave the dance because they're about to go fuck. No.
But as soon as they leave, there's a car right behind them following them. And Jeffrey's like, oh shit, it's Frank. And Dorothy's scared. And they're like, being chased by this other car that they assume is Frank.
We assume it's Frank.
Yeah,
we don't have any reason to not think it isn't, but...
And then all of a sudden, she's like, oh, it's my boyfriend. It's not Frank. And so they pull over. He's like, well, fuck this then. And they pull over. Where are they?
Very close to her house. Like, they were...
Yeah, I think they're maybe at, like, Jeffrey's house, maybe.
And, it is Jeffrey's house.
Yeah, it's Jeffrey's house.
Because of who shows up. But,
and the boyfriend's like, get out of the car, I'm gonna kick your ass.
Yeah, how fucking dare you, and Sandy, you get over here. Like, this is really gonna win her over now, dude. Bossing her around and then kicking, like,
and then out of the shadow, here comes a naked woman, and we see that it's Dorothy.
Oh,
and she is completely naked, arms open. And
she draws the attention of everybody, and everybody just kind of stops, and the guys, like, leave. They're like, oh, shit, you got something going on.
Yeah, even the guy feels bad. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, man. I don't know I'm sorry.
Yeah, he does. It's like, oh, that's sweet. He's like, oh, man, I mean, I'm not going to help. I'm leaving, but I'm also not going to add to this.
At first, he makes fun. He's like, oh, is that your mom? And then I think he realizes, oh, something's up. This woman's been, like, beat up, cut up.
Like, never mind. And so they leave, and Sandy and Jeffrey get her in the car, and they actually go to Sandy's house
and
to get help.
She keeps saying, like, Jeffrey. So Sandy's like, wait, you guys know each other. You've talked to her. Because remember, he's been leaving all that out.
Yes.
And they get to the house, and Sandy's like, Mom, Dad, come help. And they, are getting her a robe to put over her. Mom's coming out to help. And this is one of the most, for me and Justine, the most quoted line from the movie is...
Oh my God, I might say this like at least once a week.
And it's such a cringy moment in the movie, but she looks at Sandy. It's like she can almost tell that Sandy's the girlfriend. She wants to one-up Sandy, and she's like, he put his disease in me.
Yeah, and she's like,
And you get that classic Laura Dern
cry
face that you might have even seen in like a GIF or a GIF, whatever you call it.
Because it's like an epic cry face.
And all of a sudden, Sandy knows exactly what she means. Like, he
put his disease in me.
He put his disease in me.
He put his disease in me.
And then she just starts freaking out. She's like, Jeffrey!
Like, what?
Leave!
Oh,
and she gets taken away by an ambulance, and Kyle McLaughlin's gone. He's calling her on the phone. She's crying. He's all like, Sandy, hun, baby.
Yeah, like, I've got it. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, because he calls her right after that all ends, like, and Dorothy gets in the ambulance and leaves. He goes home and he calls her. He's like, hey, girl, really sorry about all that. Yeah, I fucked her, but I love you. Please forgive me. And she's like, okay, I forgive you.
Such like a teenager.
Yeah.
Like in her little teen pink room.
And yeah, she's just so, she's always assuming the best of everybody and trying to be wise beyond her years. Like, she's trying to be understanding when she doesn't understand. It's like, okay, well, alright, just whatever, I get it. Like, there's things beyond my control that I appreciate Sandy.
Yeah, I like her a lot.
She doesn't add to the stress. In fact, she's like a helpful character.
She's like a a Girl Friday. Or you're a Girl Friday.
Yes. She's down. Okay, so from the hospital, he's divulged to Sandy that they got a little sexual, and when he goes to Dorothy's apartment.
Yeah, the night's not over. He tells her, like, get your dad. Send your dad over to Dorothy's apartment.
This is kind of the last bit of the movie, and he knows shit's about to go down because Frank is going to try to find him, like, now. Like, he's like, I've got to get to Frank first, basically. So he goes over to Dorothy's. He tells Sandy, you get your dad over to Dorothy's now. But what he doesn't know, because of course, like, and this is what Sandy's dad has been trying to tell him from the get-go, it's like, no, mind your own goddamn business, we've got stuff going on, is they're busting this case wide open. They're having a shootout at Frank's apartment. And
there's like this fun montage where Jeffrey's like kind of sullen. He's kind of kicking his feet, getting over to Dorothy's, and you're getting this music playing, and there's a shootout, and then cutting back to him, and then he gets in the apartment, and the music, and just everything stops.
Yeah.
And he sees the scene in Dorothy's apartment, and there's a dead man, which we realize is Dorothy's husband. He's got the blue velvet gagged in his mouth. He's got an ear cut off, and he's all tied up on the couch. And the man with the yellow, it's like, this is another, adds to that level of weirdness and surreal, is he's like almost dead. He's like unconscious.
He's been shot in the head.
Yeah, so he's just like fucked in the head.
And he's dripping, like, because you can see the entry
head wound. Yeah.
So
but he's still standing.
Something about how he was like hit. It's something Lynch wanted in the movie because of something he had seen before, like a weird case of somebody dying standing upright.
Yeah.
But it adds to just like, what the fuck is this movie?
You're like, what is that guy doing? Is he alive?
Is he alive?
Know.
Yeah.
And a radio jumps, or like all of a sudden the walkie-talkie in the yellow man's coat talks, and he has a reflux and knocks a lampshade over with his arm, and you're like, oh no, he's still kind of alive.
Scares.
Like he's got some brain activity going on.
And so he's very Jeffrey's very cautious, walks over to him, retrieves the walkie-talkie from, because he's a detective, so he's got the walkie-talkie on him, and he starts talking on it because he's trying to communicate with Sandy's dad, with the detectives, and tell him to get over to Dorothy's apartment complex. But then he remembers that Frank has one too.
And he's like, oh shit.
And that was because of the car. There's a car scene, I think, where there's the walkie or whatever. He overhears him. So
the police.
So he knows he's got one, and then kind of midway through telling
he's
where
like,
he is.
I just told them where I was.
And so he gets back on there.
Because he's like, I'm hiding in the back bedroom, or whatever.
Yeah, and divulges false information.
Yeah.
Because now he wants to lead Frank into that area. And, oh my God. Okay.
He goes outside almost waiting for him, and he starts seeing the well-dressed man. Like, Jeffrey's going to leave and get out of there, but then he sees the well-dressed man coming. And this is on that outside staircase, and he's watching him. And all of a sudden, the well-dressed man looks straight up at him, and you see that it's Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, it's clear enough now that you get a shot of the face of the well-dressed man, and it's just Dennis Hopper with, like, a mustache and a wig.
And you're like, oh, shit!
Holy shit. And
then
he's running up the stairs.
Yeah, he takes the wig off, and he's after Jeffrey now, and you're like, shit.
Yeah, he's like, he didn't realize he only had seconds. He thought he was timing it to where Frank would get there when the police got there.
And I think this is when Jeffrey actually goes in, right? He's like, hey, I'm hiding in the back room, right? Or has he already done that? I can't remember what comes first.
I think that's when he decides to say, I'm hiding in the back room, to be even more misleading.
And then he goes and hides back in the closet where it all started. And he's waiting for Frank.
Frank gets in and he's watching him because the closet has
the little slats where you can see through.
And so he's able to see him just walk in, and oh my God, it's such a suspenseful moment. You're just like so scared for him.
And Frank's like, you stupid fucker. I heard you. I've got a radio. I know where you are. And then he's walking around looking for him, and he's not where he said he was. And then Frank gets.
It's while he's in that back room looking for him that Jeffrey's like, oh yeah. Jeffrey walks out of the closet, grabs the detective's gun. Gets back in the. Oh my God! It's like a moment where you're kicking your feet because you're like, and he comes out. Or not he, Frank comes out of the room, and he's back in the closet. Jeffrey's back in the closet, got that gun, and you know he's headed right there for the closet. It's the only other place where he'd be hiding.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it would be the only place he could really hide. And then he's breathing in his
gas.
gas.
Oh my gosh.
And you're like, oh shit, and he's pointing the gun at the closet, and you're like, Jeffrey! He opens the closet, and Jeffrey, pow!
I mean, and we get the explosion of the back of the head. It's gory, it's gruesome. I love it. I'm dead instantly. We know, bye Frank, you're out of here. And then 2 seconds later, like, Sandy and her dad come running in, and
I have to mention, one of my favorite little cutaway shots, because it adds so much to the tension, is when Frank I think first gets in the building. It's like Sandy can't take it, and she runs to come to his aid, and during all this madness, you just get this quick, really cool shot of just Sandy again kind of running out of the darkness. She runs past frame, and she's just screaming, Jeffrey! But something about that one shot is really like adds to that tension. Like, hurry, girl!
Everybody,
like, somebody!
It's a race to
like,
Dorothy's apartment. Oh, we've got to get to Dorothy's apartment. We're also in a race to get to Dorothy's apartment too.
Yeah, we'll get to see it in Wilmington.
And okay, so here's the end of the movie. The bad guys are dead. We get another idyllic shot, some music, and Jeffrey and Sandy and her family and his family are together having like a little cookout, a little barbecue, a little hangout time. We get Dorothy with her son. They've reunited, and
we got to mention the robin. There's like this obviously fake mechanical robin eating this worm, and earlier in the movie when Jeffrey and Sandy were talking, Sandy gives this speech about how she wants to live in this world where everything is bright and happy, and how when you see robins, they mean that everything is like pure and
love. They stand for love.
They stand for love. And so at the end, you see the robin eating the bug that we got at the beginning of the movie. It's like love is conquering all.
Full circle moment.
Yeah, it's this really like melodramatic, sweet moment.
I love it.
At the end, yeah. it works tonally for like the movie. You're like, yeah, this is how a happy ending to this movie would be. It would be over the top, like everything else.
Yeah. And you're leaving thinking, is it really as wonderful because again,
what else is going on in this town?
But I also love that we get like a curtain closing of blue velvet. Like, it's done, it's over.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Have a great life.
The story of this man with this blue velvet fetish. Because remember, he's cutting her robe and shoving it in her mouth.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, David Lynch.
But there we are. We're all done, packaged up in a nice velvet bow.
Yep.
It's blue velvet.
And as you heard, we're in South Carolina now. You got to hear our embarrassing little ritual.
So we still need to further drive into North Carolina.
We're on Interstate 20 right now.
We've got a few more hours.
Yeah, I think about 4 more hours or so.
So
we'll be there.
We can't wait to bring just everything that we find out back to you.
I'm really excited to see like all the locations that we can find
and see what they look like now.
I've seen this movie so many
years
times.
later.
See like in location, like is that Dorothy Valent's house really like near a neighborhood? You know, they just like walk there from her house at one point. You know,
30 years later, let's see what quote Lumberton looks like, because there is like a Lumberton, North Carolina.
Yeah, and that was like by accident.
It was a happy accident, and they're not. There's only a couple of establishing shots that were taken there, so
the rest of the movies.
Mostly not filmed there.
They even show shots of like the docks and stuff in Wilmington. You know, you see the water. So yeah, we're excited.
Here we come. All right, we'll see you guys. We'll be back in just a couple seconds.
Yeah, stay tuned. We're coming right back. Welcome back, Scream Queen.
What's up? We're here. We're in the car. We're heading to another destination.
Yeah, we're currently heading up to the Outer Banks of North Carolina to record episode 58. So when we get done with this, we're going to be recording another episode for you guys.
Woo! Wipe the sweat off my brow. I'm working so hard these days.
We're such hard workers. It's all for you, Damien.
It's all for you.
You might hear a little pitter-patter of rain. Just go with it, please.
Raindrops are falling on our windshields.
Yeah, we're sitting here both in our blue velvet robes.
Yes.
We decided that's how we were going to leave Wilmington, and nothing but titty tassels and blue velvet robes.
Yes, it's our dress code.
Yep, we're being a couple Dorothys.
We're just a couple Dorothys.
Just a couple Dorothys.
Oh, we are so excited to tell you about all of our adventures in Wilmington. We got to see so much.
Yeah, last night someone put their disease in me. I'm just...
Oh my gosh.
No, that didn't happen in Wilmington.
The only thing that didn't happen in Wilmington.
The only thing that did. But we did it up. We saw all the locations.
Oh my goodness. We started off at Dorothy's apartment complex. We found it. It looks awesome.
Yeah, we arrived yesterday at about 3 and we hit the ground running. We went to the hotel, checked in, and then we're like, let's go see some blue velvet shit.
Go ahead and just start knocking off all of these places. See how many places can we actually get to.
And it's awesome how many locations are there in Wilmington. We saw so much of the stuff, the locations from the movie. Like Justine said, starting with the Carolina building is Dorothy's apartment complex.
Yes. And it's off a main street there in Wilmington, across from the church.
Yeah, the little scene where she sits out there and prays and talks about the robins, Sandy, while they're waiting across from, that's all right there. There wasn't like trick photography where they went to, another church and shot and then tried to match it up. No, it's right there.
Right there. Love that.
And Justine and I really loved one element we saw yesterday, which was the outside portions of the building, like the stoops and the bit, I don't know, what would you call it? It's just like an outside space, an outside exit,
Yes.
an entrance, is there.
Yeah, their stairwell, I mean, it, you know, like for a fire escape, but also just like where they were traveling up and down.
Yeah.
And that was like where they shot a lot of the entering and exiting of. So.
And it's so creepy in the movie, but it really
Yeah.
wasn't that creepy there in broad daylight.
No.
But that's where he sees Dennis Hopper dressed as the well-dressed man. When he looks up at the end in the finale and he realizes, oh shit, that is
that
Frank
was
Booth.
all along. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Oh my gosh,
So
Dorothy.
that was awesome, and we took so many pictures. We made some TikToks and
Oh my god, we were tick-tocking away. And we didn't get to go inside the apartment complex. We don't even know if they shot anything inside. So we
that
just
is a
know that's where
question. Does anybody out there know?
Yeah.
The shots in the hallways, was that on location, or is that what they shot
Maybe
at
the
Dana
studio.
Taylor in the studio? We have a feeling that the interiors were at the studio. Not the interiors of the house, because I believe next we went to Sandy's house, and
Yes.
I believe those interiors were actually in that house.
Sandy's house looked a lot the same. Had the same door. It didn't have the like, not the glass door, but they had like a screened door.
Yes.
And there wasn't a screened door anymore, but it still looked the same. And I loved how it was in a residential area where all the houses looked different. You know, like all the homes had a little spark all their own.
Yeah, and it's funny how far away Sandy's house really is from like downtown and like the Carolina building, because you know in the movie I was talking earlier about that shot where she's running down the street frantically at the end trying to get Jeffrey to help
Yes.
him. But her house is actually really far away from that North Carolina building, so
She would have been hustling
she would have
across
been
town.
running like probably a good 4 or 5 miles
Yeah.
to get over there.
Lumberton is definitely not Wilmington.
Yeah.
Wilmington is expansive and sprawling, and Lumberton in the movie at least is supposed to just be
This quaint little town.
yeah.
And Wilmington is like a quaint little town, but Justine's right. It's like laid out. Really, you can drive all over and still be in Wilmington.
Yeah, it's like a port town, so there's lots of like seashore.
Yeah, the
shoreline.
big Cape Fear River is there that gave Justine and I like.
Oh,
We're like,
we've
ooh,
got
maybe we've got to come back to Wilmington.
other ideas. Just keep having them.
Yes.
Okay, so we went to Sandy's house, got some pictures, and then went across town to Jeffrey's house, and again, looks a lot the same.
Looks very similar. We saw where Daddy would have like passed out, having
Yes.
a stroke, and you know, we're just like, oh, there's Jeffrey's house.
Yeah, it's funny. I wanted to like walk up and be like, do you like know the house you're living in? Like, do you know?
Do you know the Beaumonts?
Do you know?
Do you know how big?
Oh my god, like it's like your house is like famous. Like, do you even know? But I didn't. We didn't do that.
Some hotties lived in this house once.
On another one of those like main streets in Wilmington, the high school is there, so we would go drive, you know, back and forth across the town all day, and we would see the high school.
Yeah, we actually didn't stop and take pictures of it, but we drove by it several times, and it's set up just like the movie. The football field where the boyfriend comes and sees her get in the car with Jeffrey is there, but it's now kind of like tennis courts.
Yes.
And so it's kind of all laid out. And we're like, oh, that's where the boyfriend would have been. That's where she would have been getting in. That's where the girls would have been like, oh, he is so cute.
Oh my
I'm going to
gosh.
ride that
Look
dick.
at that piece of tube steak. Oh my goodness.
He can
my
cut my
nipples
meat with
are
that
so...
tube steak.
No, they weren't saying things like that because they weren't trashy.
Yeah, we're trashy.
We're trashy. We went to the De Laurentiis studios. They're not called that anymore, but they are an active like studio.
And they were filming stuff there. We could see crew working. We saw the trailers set up where talent would have been hanging out. And we wondered if they were shooting Scream 5 or if they were utilizing any of those studios. But we wanted to tell you guys and break the news on this episode that we will not be doing a Scream 5 minisode.
No, there wasn't anything to Minnesota about.
Yeah, everything, all information kind of dried up, of course, when we were there. The 2 weeks before we left, we were so excited because every day on Instagram and Twitter, we were seeing people sharing like where the filming locations were, like here they are out on the street today, or they're at this out front of this store shooting today, yada yada.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like, now that we've left.
Oh yeah, I've already.
Gonna...
Yeah, exactly. We'll end up seeing stuff, but while we were there yesterday, all the info was kind of, like I said, dried up.
Yeah,
no one could really point us in the right direction. We reached out to people trying to find out, and no one really knew what was going on yesterday or where they were. Even like this morning, we haven't found out anything before we left, so
we just kind of had to say, wah, wah.
Wah, wah. No
well.
Scream 5 minutes, so there's really nothing to report. Yeah.
Now we know we can go back and see locations for when we see Scream 5.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's that. We did go to we did stop by the diner and take pictures. We didn't eat at it. It was an active diner too.
Yeah.
That savory.
It's called like savory, and it's supposed to be actually pretty delicious, but we went and ate somewhere else.
Yes, we went and had ourselves a wonderful meal at a restaurant called Basics. It's very close to that, like, it's in the Old Town area of Wilmington and by the port.
One thing we really appreciate about Wilmington is that they are kind of taking COVID serious. Everyone was masked up. At the restaurant, you had to wait to be seated before a host came. When the waiter or server came to your table, you had to have your mask on every time. Everybody was social distance, spread out. We felt safe eating there, and not only did we feel safe eating there, the food was fucking amazing. Ain't that right, Justine?
Yep, it was so good. I appreciate Wilmington and places in North Carolina that follow the rules.
Yes.
That's all we can do, right?
Yep.
We also had some wonderful breakfast crepes
this
a
morning.
little bit ago.
They were delicioso.
I'm still tasting that strawberry.
Yeah, I have a feeling when hopefully this COVID stuff blows over that Wilmington, I think, is a good little food city, and maybe we'll be back and get to eat some more little treats.
Yeah, we'll definitely be back to Wilmington to cover other movies that take place there and eat more foods and just bring more recaps to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's jump into our fave scenes and our knives rating, sir.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my gosh!
Am I going first?
Okay, yeah, sure, you can go first.
I'm all like, teacher, pick me.
You go first.
My favorite scene is, it's kind of like a 15-minute sequence, is when after he's fucked Dorothy, when the gang takes him on a ride, and he has to go over to Ben's, and Ben sings the Candy-Colored Clown, and then they leave, and then they beat him up while the big girl is dancing on top of the car. Just this whole sequence is so intense. One, you're scared for Jeffrey.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster.
You know nothing good is going to happen with him leaving with Ben. Or, I'm sorry, not with Ben, but leaving with Frank when they go to Ben's and then after. And it just builds the tension, but then on top of it, it's fucking weird.
Yes.
And it's bizarre, and it's skewing reality just a little bit. Like, everything's just slightly off and over the top. Ben himself is very flamboyant, and you can tell maybe even like murderous and evil himself. Well, you know he is. He's letting this Frank guy keep people hostage at his house, you know? So they're all like just like these evil people.
It's the seedy underbelly of Lumberton.
Yes, of America.
All hanging out together.
Yeah,
just
hairy balls out.
Hairy balls out. I do love the lady who stands on top of the car because she's like, I don't got nothing to do here. I'm not gonna bust my knuckles up.
It's almost like it's every day. Yeah, it's like it's every day to her.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing new. I'm gonna get out and dance to this shit.
I just gotta move my body.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn that song on. I'm gonna dance. They're gonna beat this kid up.
These silly old boys just wanna,
It's almost like she's
have fun.
wanting to entertain them too. Like, oh, I'm gonna dance.
Yes.
They're gonna fight. This is a party. We're out in the middle of nowhere at this like lumber yard.
It's the
beating a kid
violence
up.
of like them beating him up. It's her just dancing. It's Dorothy screaming in the car. There's like three things going on.
He's putting the lipstick on himself and kissing him and making Jeffrey's face look all fucking almost like bloody, but it's not bloody yet.
Right.
It's just
from the lipstick.
Everything is just getting like odder and odder and like scarier and scarier. And you're almost worried that they're gonna murder Jeffrey, but then they just leave him there almost for dead, like beat him up and leave him.
Or they're just that have not a concern about whether or not he survives what just happened. But
so yeah, I guess that's my favorite sequence.
Well, that's okay. It was a long one because mine is as well. It's the end scene. So and I start off with with basically Jeffrey telling her, Sandy, like, go call your dad, and then that's my scene. Like him getting to the apartment complex, seeing the weird like cop almost dead, standing. Then we see Dorothy's husband who is dead. He's missing his ear. You put that together, but it's also a weird scene to walk in on. And the walkie-talkie, Frank, the suspense, him coming up, the reveal of him to be the well-dressed man, Jeffrey, like, everything has built up to this moment of, like, him being this kid who can solve it, he comes up with the best idea, convince Frank that he doesn't know, like, I'm hiding where I am not hiding. And then he shoots him in the head. It's this best payoff that we can get. Frank is terrible and awful, and he's done the worst things. He's raped and killed in this show. We've seen it. Like, there's no denying he is a megalomaniac.
It's like the Wicked Witch is dead.
Yeah, you are so happy. You're happy for everybody. It is this good ending. It's a fairy tale ending to this dreamlike
weird Alice in Wonderland
story. And I love it. So that's my fave scene. I think both of those scenes articulate very well.
I think both of us also have another favorite scene. And I think you know what I'm going to say. It's he put his disease in me. I don't
know if that's like my favorite.
Well, it's not our favorite scene
because
it's really fucked up, but we quote that more than anything. He put his disease in me.
Yeah, I think both of the scenes we chose, though, are great. Just, like, if I was going to show somebody, but obviously, at this point, spoiler alert, dude, you haven't seen it, like, this is what it is. Good, just moments of the movie.
Yes.
Okay.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Raining so hard.
Yeah.
I'm super fucking annoyed. Let's.
All right.
Box this up in a nice little bow.
5 Knives.
Yeah, 5 Knives. Like, we both knew what was coming, guys.
Best movie of the 80s.
If you thought we were going to go with 4.5 or 4, then you're sadly mistaken.
Then you didn't pay attention.
You're fans of this
And that really
movie.
hurts my feelings because I feel like when I talk, sometimes you don't listen, and it really gets to me. Like, there's a lack of eye contact. You're like, Josh, they can't see you.
Like, who are you talking to? Exactly. Because I listen to you.
Just kidding.
But we're gonna. All right, you guys know where we're going.
5
We're
Knives.
going to the Outer Banks. We're going to cover the lighthouse. So stay tuned.
Well, I feel like we didn't really get to go there. 5 Knives. Why did we give it 5 Knives? Like I said, I think it's one of the best movies of the 80s. It's one of David Lynch's best. It's almost kind of his most restrained before he really starts being like, hey, I'm David Lynch. Here's Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive and Inland Empire, movies that really fuck with your head. And Blue Velvet fucks with your head, but it's his most, like, linear narratively. Like, tells a story in this world.
Yeah, it's a really awesome, first dip. If you were going to start your, walk down a David Lynch road,
that
start
Lost
with
Highway.
Blue Velvet.
Yeah, I would. That would be my pick for someone too.
And then crawl your way over to Mulholland Drive if you're feeling sexy, if you're feeling fancy.
Then maybe go back and dip into some Elephant Man.
Yeah, have a
kind of wash your palate a little.
Just like David Lynch would say, you're not on just like a straight line path. Yeah. We're gonna curve and go around. I think circling back to his earlier works and jumping forward would only be befitting of a David Lynch.
Befooting.
No,
Befitting, befooting, befooted. Right? Isn't that how?
I don't think that's how it
Befitting,
goes.
befooted, befooting.
I think you made all that up.
Yeah.
We both, as it's blatantly like true, like you can tell we love David Lynch. So we
we're big David Lynch fans.
Appreciate his eccentricities, and you'll go there.
Yep, and like Justine said, we're heading to the Outer Banks to record another episode, and we hope you guys will go rate and review us. Check us out on ScreamQueensPodcast.com, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all the fucking places.
All the places, all the loves. We appreciate you guys. Stay tuned for...
We love you so hard.
Yeah. For everything. Stay tuned for We Love You So Hard. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.